Some babies are born with tails, but not for the reason you might think. And this is an image of a 3-month-old baby with a true tail. This is by Shad and Biswas Case Report 2012. It might sound like a tall tail, but in very rare cases, humans can be born with boneless rear end appendages, sometimes up to 18 centimeters long. To date, official records have tailed about 40 babies born with true tails, consisting of soft, boneless, finger-like protrusions that are easily removed via surgery. Nevertheless, the rare case studies tend to generate an unusual amount of interest, excitement, and anxiety, according to researchers. Often this is because the tails are considered to be benign, evolutionary remnants of a long-lost ancestor. As it turns out, that's based on an outdated theory that has been contentious for decades now. The reality for these children may be much darker, and they deserve medical attention, not our morbid fascination. The appendages some babies are born with have historically been deemed true or vestigial tails, but that's a bit of a misnomer, as they are not really like any other tail known in nature. They typically don't contain bones, cartilage, or spinal cord. They just kind of hang there without a clear function. Still, that does not mean these appendages are as harmless as scientists used to think. The misunderstanding over the tail's origin starts with Charles Darwin himself. Over a century ago, Darwin proposed that human vestigial tails are evolutionary accidents or rudimentary leftovers from a primate ancestor that once was tailed itself. In the 1980s, scientists took this theory and ran with it. They argued that a genetic mutation evolved by humans to erase our tails could sometimes revert back to its ancestral state. In 1985, a seminal paper defined 2 different types of tails that human babies can be born with. The first, as mentioned before, is a vestigial or true tail, originally thought to be inherited from our ancestors. But another type of outgrowth from the tailbone, which sometimes does include bone, is known as pseudotail. Historically, the pseudotail has been the one associated with birth defects, and as such is not considered vestigial. As it turns out, both are rare appendages, probably represent an incomplete fusion of the spinal column, or what's known as spinal dysraphism. This suggests that their formation is not a harmless regression in the evolutionary process, but a concerning disturbance in the embryo's growth, most likely resulting from a mix of genetic and environmental factors. When a human embryo reaches about 5 weeks of development, it sprouts a tail-like structure composed of neural tube and notochord, which is kind of like an early spinal cord. By the 8th week of development, this tail is typically reabsorbed back into the embryo's body. If it sticks out until birth, it could indicate the presence of a large birth defect. In fact, human babies that are born with tails tend to have serious associated neurological defects. In 2008, for instance, a paper argued that true vestigial tails are not benign because they may be associated with underlying dysraphism. Roughly half of the cases reviewed were associated with either meningocele or spina bifida occulta. This suggests babies born with tails need greater medical attention than simple surgery. It strongly disagrees with the 1985 paper that argued the true human tail is a benign condition, not associated with any underlying spinal cord malformation. In fact, as far back as 1995, researchers were arguing that babies born with both true and pseudotails should undergo neuroimaging as well as surgery to make sure their development was tracking like it should. So why have vestigial tails been reported in case studies, since as though they were innocent, undisputed consequences of our genetic heritage? Part of the problem is that it's not yet known if a true tail is directly derived from the embryonic tail, as some scientists have suggested. There simply is not enough research on where the congenital abnormality lies, partly because of how rare these case studies are. Regardless of where a baby's tail came from, however, evidence strongly suggests it's a result of a congenital issue and is not a harmless vestigial trait. For the life and health of these children, that's an important message that needs to be cleared up once and for all. Please support my Patreon account. The daily posts are 5 videos daily, and they are totally different from what I have on my YouTube channel. Thank you so much for your support and that you find all my content so interesting. You'll find the Patreon account details in the description box below.